Memphis beat Florida State, because of course they did. Did you watch this game? I heard Colin laugh from the other room. See, there's a wall between us. I can always gauge how good the intros to the segments are by whether I can hear him pop in there. 2.5 Chalai on this game. It was messy, but it was entertaining and really good for Memphis. I cannot believe how bad Florida State is offensively. I've seen it before, but I had to see it again. It's like every week or two, you have to be reminded. This team is completely lifeless. They are a CPR dummy with no arms or legs offensively. It is atrocious. It's beyond embarrassing. Norvell has no answers. You can tell this was Florida State coming out of a bye week. So this is the best that they could cook up. Memphis controlled this game. They held FSU to 67 yards in the first half. They were just the better team. And there's an alert here, and that is Memphis, who I picked to go to the playoff, is probably the favorite out of the G5 ranks to go to the playoff. I don't even know how to handicap that right now. I don't know if I should punish Boise for losing close to Oregon. I don't even know how the committee's going to handle that. And that concludes our playoff coverage for tonight. It's a really easy game to understand. Not the game of football. That's incredibly complex. This game, if you watched it yesterday and you were trying to describe it to someone, all you got to do is tell them, well, Memphis had the better quarterback, because they did. Hennigan went 25 of 38, 272, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. DJ was 16 of 30 for 201 and 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. His receivers did him no favors. They hate catching the ball. FSU, if there's one thing they hate more than winning even, it is catching the football. It's been a chronic issue all year long. Again, you can so clearly tell from Mike Norvell's post-game press conferences before the fire alarm goes off, because that happened yesterday, that he is seeing one thing in practice, and it is not translating over to Saturday. And that's the most maddening part. When you suck in practice and you suck on Saturdays, it's not fun, but at least it makes sense. Imagine Monday through Thursday, and even the walkthrough on Friday, you're kind of seeing what you want to see. It's like, we're going to have to execute well, and no, we are certainly not a finished product. We are a very imperfect team, but I can win with this. And then they go into Saturday, and they just throw up all over the place. It's terrible. That's Florida State offensively. I got to be honest. I got a hat tip their defense yesterday, because that was a problem early on. They played with a lot more effort and pride yesterday. Those guys got nothing to hang their head about, but offensively couldn't get out of their own way. Their offense operates like it's week 3 of spring of a new offensive install. If you were to take a team who's installing a new offense 3rd week of spring and say, you've got to play a football game this Saturday, Florida State's what it would look like. Discombobulated, guys out of position, guys dropping balls. Everything looks slow. It looks like you're watching offense in 0.75 speed. I cannot imagine being a Florida State fan and watching that and having to stomach that. And unlike your friends down in Gainesville, who know they're going to get a new head man next year, this is not it. It's Mike Norvell's job. It's his mess to clean up. And I'm not in any shape, form, or fashion suggesting there should be any kind of hot seat talk with him. I'm just saying it's an apples to oranges comparison. Both teams are terrible this year. But with Florida State, this is your guy. That's your horse. You got to ride it. At Florida, there's an unknown of we got to see who comes in next. Man, 0 rhythm offensively whatsoever. They had 1.5 yards per carry, 2 of 12 on 3rd down. It was just gross. So what now? Anytime a football team loses a game in college, it's like, what now? What now? Well, you throw away the season. That's what you do. You have no other option. I'm not suggesting the coaching staff do that, the team do that. I'm saying as a fan, you're entering a new world in college football. This is kind of the first example of it. It will not be the last example of it. When the transfer portal has done what it's done to the sport, you're going to have even some really good teams like Florida State lean on it. And in the feast or famine era of the transfer portal, you're going to have examples of a team that does sky-high things one year and the bottom falls out the next year way worse than it ever could have before. It used to be that if your best case was 12-0, your absolute basement floor was 8-4. Now, you can go 12-0 one year, and you can be 4-8 the next year. And I don't mean TCU. I mean big boys. I mean the ones that recruit in the top 20, because you don't know. From the neck up and in here, you don't really know what a team that's disproportionately made up of portal talent is really made of. You just don't. And Mike Norvell is the clearest example of that because he thought he had one thing and he doesn't. And you can tell from, like I've talked about before, the folks who cover that team, they go to open practices. They weren't lying to you. Folks, I keep looking at the boards, the message boards, and everyone's mad at folks who cover Florida State. You misled us. You misled us. Well, they kind of did, but not because they were trying to lie to you. They were just telling you what they see in practice. Hey, Nick Saban goes and watches Florida State practice. What did he do after that? What's Saban do? He picked him to win the ACC. You remember that? He's not a Florida State beat writer. He's not an NFL scout. He's best to ever do it. Supreme evaluator of talent. But it's about more than talent. The NFL scouts who came through there gave glowing remarks. They told it to me about Florida State. They all thought Florida State was going to be a problem. Folks who covered the team thought it was going to be a problem. Saban picked him to win the ACC. They're not all idiots. They weren't all trying to mislead you or lie to you for subscriptions or to clickbait you or whatever in the world you think happened to you. It is you've got a bunch of talent that does not equal a fully formed team right now. That's the long and short of it. And you're not good at quarterback. That's the extra long and short of it. So you're just a bad team. So you throw away the season is what you do. It's going to be a lost season. But in the old school of college football, that would mean you fire a guy. Well, Mike Norvell's not getting fired, nor should he be. Number one, because he just signed a new deal like 10 minutes ago. Number two, because it's a new era of college football. You have got to bake in, you've got to account for the possibility that things could just go really, really, really wrong. That's the style of roulette you're kind of playing if you use the portal. Now, what they have to do is he's going to have to make several adjustments on his staff, and they've got to get a lot better at recruiting high school football players. They just got to. That's the answer moving forward. That's not anything he doesn't know. It's just unlike me, I get to sit behind a mic and say it. He's got, 10 more games or 9 more games to go before they really get to implement any change.